One of the strangest and yet most unavoidable experiences on the inner path is realizing that you are changing in ways that people around you are not. Something in you begins to stretch, to widen, to open, and suddenly you find yourself living in a world that feels slightly tilted compared to everyone else's world. It's as if the edges of your reality have softened and expanded, while theirs remain firmly outlined. And that difference, subtle as it may appear at first, can grow into a chasm. It's a bit like watching a caterpillar dissolve into its chrysalis, becoming something unrecognizable, while all the other caterpillars continue crawling forward, content with their leafy routine. They don't understand what's happening inside the cocoon, how could they? And for the one undergoing the transformation, it can be both wondrous and terrifying. This is why spiritual growth is rarely comfortable. Transformation never has been. Consider a lobster shedding its shell. In the interval between the old shell falling away and the new one hardening, the lobster is tender and exposed, the ocean filled with predators who could devour it with ease. Yet without that period of extreme vulnerability, there would be no growth at all. A creature that refuses to risk its safety becomes a prisoner of its own shell. Humans are no different. We too must shed beliefs, identities, relationships, assumptions, and self-images. We, too, become soft and unguarded in the process. We lose the safety provided by consensus, by the comfort of fitting in, by the reassurance that everyone else sees the world the way we do. And it is in this exposed state that the real danger lies. Not the danger of physical harm, though history is full of examples, but the danger of losing everything that once gave your life shape. But here's the paradox. The things we risk losing are precisely the things we must outgrow. Outgrowing others does not mean becoming superior. This is one of the earliest traps on the path. Some people, upon awakening to deeper dimensions of life, fall prey to a subtle arrogance. They believe they have figured it out, that they stand above the crowd. But genuine growth dissolves superiority, not reinforces it. To outgrow others simply means you've begun to perceive questions they haven't yet asked. You've stepped outside certain inherited assumptions. You've tasted a truth that cannot be put back in its container. Maybe you've begun to question society's promises, the pursuit of wealth, the race for status, the endless consumption that numbs more than it satisfies. Maybe you've glimpsed that these things, far from being signs of success, are often symptoms of inner emptiness. Or perhaps you've encountered a deeper reality through meditation, crisis, grief, psychedelics, or a moment of unplanned clarity. Suddenly, the boundaries of the separate self seem porous, unreal, like mist around a flame. Once the illusion is seen through, even for a second, something in you cannot fully go back. Living between two worlds. When this shift happens, you begin living in two worlds at once. There is the everyday world of schedules and errands, politics and personality, social obligations and surface conversations. The world where everyone knows their role and plays it with sincerity. And then, there is the other world, the quiet, spacious, ever-present dimension beneath all phenomena, the world of being itself, the world that cares nothing for your resume, your bank account, the opinions of others, or the story you tell about yourself. To navigate both worlds requires learning two languages. You must speak the language of society, practical, grounded, familiar, while also remaining fluent in the silent language of the heart. Be in the world but not of it, ancient teachings say. And this balancing act can be extraordinarily challenging. Your family and friends may still be wrapped tightly in the logic of the conventional world. Their concerns, money, reputation, long-term plans, once felt important to you too, but now they feel slightly off-center, as if you're walking through a play and no longer believe in the script. Yet you cannot simply announce your realization at the dinner table. If you stand up and declare, "The separate self is an illusion," someone will likely ask if you're feeling unwell. So you keep quiet, or you offer small hints, or you find yourself searching for others who understand. And this is where the loneliness begins. The loneliness of outgrowing your environment. People sense when you've changed. Even if you say nothing, your presence subtly shifts. You don't laugh at the same jokes. You no longer enjoy the same distractions. You respond to conflicts differently. The things that once animated you now seem strangely hollow. This unsettles those around you. If you can step outside the framework they depend on, then maybe that framework isn't as solid as they believed. And so the people closest to you may react in different ways. Some will try to pull you back. They'll insist you've become strange or irresponsible. They'll remind you of expectations and obligations, hoping to squeeze you back into the shape you once fit. Others will quietly drift away. Conversations become forced. Shared interests dissolve, the bond thins until it breaks. A few may become openly hostile, especially if you've left behind a religious, ideological, or cultural identity that they still hold dear. Your questioning threatens their certainty. This is the danger that accompanies awakening, the danger of losing your tribe. Humans are social beings. We are wired to belong. To be cut off, to feel misunderstood or exiled is one of the deepest pains a person can experience. That is why this stage is sometimes referred to as a dark night of the soul. It is the period when the old identity has fallen away, but the new self has not yet fully formed. The temptation to hide your truth. Many people respond to this stage by splitting themselves in two. Outwardly, they continue to play the old role, nodding along, keeping the peace. Inwardly, they know they no longer believe in that role. There is a certain practicality in this. Not every insight must be spoken aloud. Not every dreamer needs to shake others awake. And yet, living a double life eventually becomes exhausting. Editing your thoughts, tucking away your authenticity, pretending to care, it fractures your inner cohesion. The very wholeness you're seeking becomes harder to attain. And even if you never mention your inner shift, others feel it. Transformation radiates through tone, posture, silence, and attention. People sense when you are no longer quite like them. So you stand at a threshold. You cannot go back, and you cannot yet fully go forward. This in-between space feels like being suspended, unanchored, half reborn, with no stable ground beneath your feet. The necessity of courage. Every myth, every spiritual tradition, every hero's journey includes this stage. The old village must be left. The familiar must be released. The wilderness must be stepped into. And often, you must walk alone. But this aloneness is not a mistake. It is a purification, a necessary emptying, a stripping away of false attachments so that something truer can grow in their place. You are learning to stand without leaning, to see without needing permission, to exist without being validated. And eventually, quietly, without fanfare, you begin to meet others who understand. People who speak the same silent language. People who have shed their own shells and survived the vulnerability of being new. Sometimes they appear in unlikely ways. A passing conversation, a book discovered at the perfect moment, a teacher encountered by accident, though nothing is ever truly accidental. These meetings feel strangely fated, as if life has been arranging them behind the scenes. The middle way. On this journey, there is a middle path between clinging to old relationships and severing them prematurely. Growth does not require contempt. You don't need to look down on those who haven't experienced what you have, nor should you force them to understand. Each person awakens according to their own timing. You can honor your past, cherish the love that shaped you, and still refuse to shrink yourself to preserve comfort. Sometimes, remarkably, your own transformation becomes a quiet invitation for others to grow. They see a peace or clarity in you, something grounded yet open, and they begin asking questions. In this way, relationships can evolve, deepening in unexpected ways. But you cannot control which ones will transform. Some will fall away, some will remain unchanged, some will grow with you. This is the natural ecosystem of spiritual development. What lies on the other side? Yes, you may lose friends, communities, even parts of your identity. You may endure periods of aching loneliness. You may wonder whether the path is worth the cost. And yet, on the other side of this dissolution lies an authenticity that cannot be described. A freedom that makes every loss meaningful. Once you discover your true self, not the socially constructed persona, but the awareness beneath it, you realize that nothing real was ever lost. Only illusions fell away. The relationships that remain, or the new ones that appear, are more honest, more resonant, more alive. They are not based on roles or expectations, but on mutual recognition, a meeting of beings rather than personalities. So if you find yourself outgrowing those around you, remember this: you are not broken, you are not misguided, you are simply shedding a shell. And although the process feels lonely, it is actually preparing you for a deeper kind of connection, one that cannot exist until you become true to yourself. Transformation always involves a death, the death of who you once were. But what emerges is larger, freer, and infinitely more real. Trust your unfolding. Trust the intelligence of life that brought you here. And trust that even in the darkest parts of the journey, you are being guided toward a fuller expression of who you really are.